What is going on, guys? Today I want to share with you my top 10 places in Yoho National Park. This national park is located in British Columbia, Canada, and it's one of the most amazing national parks in all of Canada. It showcases some of the beautiful Canadian Rocky Mountains. There are some of the most pristine trails in the world. It is right next to Banff National Park and Jasper National Park, and it is one of my favorite places in the world to go hiking. Before we hop in, if you don't mind, please like and subscribe for more content, guys. I have a ton of videos like this, a ton of hiking vlogs, time-lapse films, and aerial films, and it definitely helps me to continue creating videos like this. But without further ado, let's hop right into my top 10 places in Yoho National Park. First up is going to be Natural Bridge, and this is actually just off of the Trans-Canada Highway that kind of connects Alberta to British Columbia, and it goes right through Yoho National Park. It's just about 2 miles from Field, British Columbia. There is the main Natural Bridge that is right next to the parking lot, and there is the lower falls. Both of them are within a few hundred feet of each other, so definitely recommend checking them both out. This is a very unique waterfall. The one spot that is right under the bridge, there's kind of water coming from every single direction, and then it all funnels into one massive fall that goes right under the natural bridge and then on to the river below. It is so beautiful, so powerful. It's very dangerous, so definitely don't get too close to the edge, and it can be very slippery on the rocks. But I definitely recommend kind of walking all around to the beach to the side and right up to the viewpoint overlook in the bridge, because it is awesome just seeing it from every single angle, and you're surrounded by mountains, and there's just so much beauty here, and it's a great place to hang out without having to hike. You can just kind of get out of your car and you are there, so it's super accessible. Next up is going to be Emerald Lake, and this is the most famous lake in all of Yoho National Park. Even though this is one of the most popular lakes in the Canadian Rockies, I have probably been here half a dozen times, and every single time I've found peace and solitude, which you definitely can't say about some of the other comparable lakes in the area like Moraine Lake or Lake Louise. The color of the lake is so beautiful, and during the day the sun just brightens up the intense color of it, and around sunset, even when the sun is dropping and the water is in the shadows, the color is still just so amazing. This is a great place for photography and for an afternoon outing on the lake if you'd like to rent a canoe or even go for a cold swim. Emerald Lake Lodge is probably one of the most photographed hotels and resorts in the entire country. It looks incredible. It is picture perfect. It lines up with the bridge over to the lodge. The lake is all around. You're surrounded by mountains. It is such a beautiful place. It just looks incredible right there. It's relatively expensive though, so I've never actually stayed myself, but it's definitely worth checking out while you're there. Next up at number 3 is going to be Lake O'Hara, and this is roughly 14 miles of a hike without a shuttle permit. So this is probably the most pristine place I've ever been to in my life in the mountains. The only way to access the lake is to either take a shuttle or walk the entire fire road. This is one of the most important areas in the park, so they really do an incredible job of preserving it and making sure that it stays pristine. The shuttle I have never been able to get personally. It's pretty tough, and a lot of the trips I do with my girlfriend Bree are pretty last minute as far as planning goes. So the alternative to this is to hike 7 miles up the road and 7 miles down, and there's probably around 1,500 to 2,000 feet of elevation gain. You are going to be on a fire road, so it's not going to be anything compared to what it's going to be like when you're actually up at the lake. Honestly, probably the most beautiful place I've ever been in Canada, and it is for sure the crown jewel of Yoho National Park. Next up is going to be Prospect Lookout via Opabin Trail, and this is actually from Lake O'Hara, and it's going to be from the lake itself an extra 700 feet of elevation gain and an extra 3 miles round trip, and this is strictly from the lake to the Prospect Lookout and not any of the other trails. There's a lot of other lakes and trails in the area, and this is just to get to Prospect Lookout. But this is the classic viewpoint of Lake O'Hara, which you typically see all the photos of Lake O'Hara from this viewpoint because there are so many lakes scattered at the bottom, and this viewpoint is just framed perfectly for photos. It's a very famous photo. Being at the lake shore at Lake O'Hara is incredible, but being above it is just as special of an experience. This is tough though, because if you don't have a shuttle permit, you're talking talking about a 20-mile day if you have to hike the fire road and up to here. So it is quite expensive. So, do your research ahead of time, see if you can get a shuttle permit or stay at the lodge, or start early and be prepared for a big day in the mountains. Next up is going to be Wapta Falls, and this is 3 miles round trip with 410 feet of elevation gain. This is an amazing trail and practically flat until you get to the falls, where you can decide how low you want to hike down. I definitely recommend hiking down to the bottom, but it does get steep, so just be careful in case it has rained or anything. On the trail, there are some trees that have fallen that you have to go above or below, but otherwise it is a great afternoon walk, and the trail is amazing. It's very well kept. This is one of the most unique waterfalls I've ever been to. The color of the water is just amazing, and there's multiple pools of water separate from the actual river that the waterfall flows through, making it very cool. And of course, it's backdropped by the Canadian Rockies, which just makes it that much more awesome. Next up is going to be Paget Lookout. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. This is what a local told us, so hopefully that is true and I don't offend anybody. This is roughly 4.5 miles round trip with 1,600 feet of elevation gain, and if you want to go all the way to Paget Peak summit, that hike totals at 5.9 miles round trip and 3,156 feet of gain. But to Paget Lookout, it is awesome. There are great views of Wapta Lake. It is a stunning, beautiful hike. The lookout building is awesome and just really cool to see that on top of the mountain, honestly. And this is a great way to see Yoho National Park from above. It is very steep, so definitely come prepared for that. When we went, it was pretty muddy on the lower trails, so it was really nice to have our boots that day. But this is a great quick hike if you kind of just want to get above it all, above the roads, above the crowds and all of that, and just see a great view of Yoho. Next up is going to be Takakkaw Falls, and this is 373 meters or 1,224 feet tall. It is the second tallest waterfall in the entire country of Canada. Honestly, you can see it from miles and miles away on a clear day when you're driving up the road. It is freaking massive. I've been here a few times with horrible weather, and it was so bad that it was actually kind of nice that we could just stay in our car and still see the waterfall from the parking lot. But on a clear day, you should definitely walk up to the base of the waterfalls. It's probably only like a quarter mile each way, and getting right below this thing is just amazing, and it is wild how powerful this waterfall is. So definitely a cool spot to check out and a great activity for an afternoon drive. Next up is going to be Hamilton Falls, and this is one that I personally hadn't heard of for my first few visits to Canada or Yoho National Park. And this is a 1 mile round trip hike with 374 feet of elevation gain, and the trailhead to this is actually the back left side of the parking lot to Emerald Lake. Obviously, when you get to Emerald Lake, the lake is right there, Emerald Lake Lodge is right there, so everybody just goes right to that, as I did many times visiting here. But I found out this back trail goes to a waterfall that has just this incredible rock formation that the water flows through, and the water is just so clear. And it was really cool that I had just never heard of this, but it was so close to the parking lot. So this is a really cool short hike. I didn't see a single person when I hiked up here, which was also awesome. Definitely had my bear spray because I was alone for this one, but definitely worth checking out while you're at Emerald Lake. Next up is going to be Meeting of the Rivers Confluent, and this is one of Yoho National Park's natural wonders. Meeting of the Rivers Confluent is on the way to Takakkaw Falls, and there's a stop where the Kicking Horse River and the Yoho Rivers meet. It's a great place to explore with kids, kind of just to enjoy from the parking lot or hike right down to the water. The river access is not a maintained path, but it's pretty easy to walk down. It's just 20 feet and a little steep. Just be careful. But the cool thing about this is that this is where the two rivers intersect, and one of them is a creamy white colored river, while the other is an aqua blue river. So where they meet, you can just see a hard line of color in the water, which is a very unique thing. Sometimes after it rains, it is a little bit more muddled where the line is, but on a normal day, the color difference is very obvious, and it's just a great stop, especially if you're already in the area, and a very cool natural wonder to see in Yoho. Last up is going to be Faeder Lake, and this is a super picturesque lake with a even more picturesque bench right in front of it. That is kind of really funny to take a photo sitting at this bench with this beautiful lake and mountains behind you. There are a bunch of picnic tables here. My favorite thing about this lake is that you can park right at it. Not that many people go to it compared to some of the other places in the national park, and it is just as beautiful as any of the other lakes, and you can hang out, you can have a picnic, you can just enjoy a nice afternoon on the lake with absolutely no effort. So this is a really cool one. And that is going to wrap up my top 10 hikes and places to visit in Yoho National Park, Canada. This is one of my favorite national parks, and if you're going to be heading up to Canada, if you're going to Banff, Jasper, both, make sure you set aside some time for Yoho National Park, because it is amazing and some of the coolest places I've been to in Canada. Again, if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more. Check out a bunch of my other videos on Canada. I've got some time-lapse films. I have some hiking vlogs and some other top 10s. There's a bunch of stuff for everybody. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you later.